Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to the latest episode as I'm going to be reviewing the Steven Soderbergh crime film now available on HBO Max, No Sudden Move. Steven Soderbergh, as a director, he's kind of hit or miss with me. I mean, a lot of people, obviously, we're all going to talk about the Ocean's films, which I do love the Ocean's films. Out of Sight is another one. And then he's got other films like Traffic, which I wasn't necessarily a big fan of. And I think Aaron Brockovich was also very well popular as well. I like Steven Soderbergh's direction for the most part. It's just sometimes the films work and sometimes the films don't work. In this particular film, he's got a stellar cast behind him with Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, John Hamm, Brendan Fraser, who I think we haven't seen outside of Doom Patrol for a very, very long time, David Harbour, Julia Fox, Kieran Culkin, Noah Jupe, Amy Semiz, Ray Liotta, and then there's some others that pop up that I'm not going to mention for spoiler reasons. The cast clearly, like most Soderbergh films, is top notch. It's whether or not the story itself is gripping and intriguing enough to keep you on the edge of your seat for those 2 hours. With this particular film, it follows Don Cheadle's Kurt and Benicio del Toro's Ronald, as they are hired by Brendan Fraser's Doug Jones to basically go and do a not necessarily a kidnapping, but a breaking in and babysitting job while Kieran Culkin takes David Harbour to get particular files. Stuff happens that I'm not going to mention, obviously, that leads both Kurt and Ronald and the rest of the cast down this path to try and fix/get out of the situation that they were put in when everything goes wrong. Soderbergh definitely has a beautiful eye. He definitely knows how to shoot what he's trying to portray on the film. Everything looks great. There are some certain elements of the film it looks like he's using like an eyeglass kind of approach, where kind of the narrowing down of the vision. I didn't really work for me, but I can respect at least the attempt to try and shoot something a little more movie-esque and potentially uniqueness of the film. Because it feels, especially with this film, it's very claustrophobic in terms of them trying to figure out ways to get out of these tight spaces and getting out of the situations that they're in. In this particular film, which even on the posters it says, it's not verbatim. It's basically, don't trust anybody because there's, trust is something you don't want to believe in. And yes, in this film, there's a lot of backstabbing and double crossing and all that kind of stuff in the film. For me, way too many double crosses in the film. It feels like every plan or everything that's happening in this film is eventually leading to a double cross or a screw job, which by the end of the film, you're just like, I don't even fucking care anymore. The performances are great. Nothing wrong with the performance in this film. Don Cheadle does a fantastic job. Benicio del Toro always does a fantastic job. John Hamm, I wish he had a little more to do in this film. I feel like he's kind of wasted. Same thing with Brendan Fraser. To me, my favorite performance was David Harbour. I thought he was great in his more kind of subdued kind of role. There's one particular part in the film where he's having to interrogate someone. Easily probably my favorite part of the film, especially with the way the performances was of Harbour in that moment. For me, as great as the cast is and as well as it is shot, the story is boring as hell. The first act is intriguing, keeps you kind of up to date, but by the time we get to the second act and inevitable third act, there's just too much talking and planning and screw jobs here and there, and there's not enough action or anything that's really going to kind of keep you elevated. I was watching this at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was having a hard time trying to stay focused and stay awake because I was just bored with the story that was being told. And then inevitably we get a scene near the end of the film. I'm not going to mention who the scene is with because it's a spoiler. That was right up there with the architect in Matrix Reloaded, where they just want to hear them talk. And everything they're talking about is mind-numbingly boring. I did not give a shit about what they were talking about, which for the most part is cars. But it's just, it goes on way, way too long to the point where I kept looking at how much time was left in the film because I just wanted this film to end. It's only 2 hours long, but it just goes to a grinding halt after the initial job that they do goes wrong. And it just does not recover for me. And no matter how many double crosses and screw jobs there are to try and awaken you or alert you and kind of going to pique interest in the film, it just doesn't. It just didn't for me anyway. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are really loving this film, saying it's one of the best films of the year. This was definitely not that for me. I think it started off really good, and then the middle was just kind of like okay, and then by the end, I just was waiting for this film to end. For me, no, I don't definitely recommend. If you're a Soderbergh fan, you're going to check this out regardless. If you're a fan of all these actors, you're obviously going to check this out regardless. For me, kind of wish I had my 2 hours back. I was excited to see this film because I had good word of mouth, but by the end of this film, either I was watching the wrong movie or maybe I wasn't in the right mood to watch this movie, especially because I just got done watching pretty much all these other movies that I've been reviewing for you guys today. By the time I got to this one, I was just not into it. I was not into it at all, and I think the story was just a very missed attempt by Soderbergh with this fantastic cast. They really just, to me, felt like a wasted opportunity. So I definitely won't be recommending this film to you guys. Going to my overall score, I'm going to give it a 58%, which is still a C in terms of how I do my grading system. Like I said, the cast is fantastic. It's not that the dialogue's bad. It's just it's very dry and boring, and it just didn't work for me overall. You guys might feel differently, which is why it's getting a C grade, because it didn't work for me, but it's probably going to work for a lot of you nonetheless. It's on HBO Max right now, so feel free to check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we have a halfway through the year review of basically 2021 so far with me and Brian Michaels. We also got another one around the Weekend Crusaders show where we talk about the half year we've done so far with the show. And then, of course, next Friday, we've got another episode of the Weekend Crusaders where Brian Michaels and I talk about 5 movies that came out during that weekend in movie history. So be on the lookout for that and the other 4 reviews that we've dropped today on the channel. And until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and have a happy 4th of July.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.